Tim Burton finally got his wish for directing Addams Family. He was scheduled to do the fourth movie back in the 90s, but he never got a chance. And I couldn't think of any other and better directors to do this. He kind of looks like he's from Addams Family, right? Hi, my name is Addams-A, and I wanted to watch the series and decide for myself, and I didn't watch any other reviews or anything because I wanted to share my own thoughts on the series. So stick around until the end of this video to hear the spoiler, by the way, spoiler alert, for the series, and I'm going to share my thoughts about it. But before that, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory and more of a cultural history behind Addams Family. And as always, please don't forget to share and subscribe and like and all of those things. Okay, let's start. Everything is started from a series of illustrations. The man behind the family, Charles Addams, once told Linda H. Davis, author of Charles Addams, A Cartoonist's Life, "It would be more interesting, perhaps, if I had a ghastly childhood, chained to an iron bed and thrown a can of Alpo every day. But I'm one of those strange people who actually had a happy childhood." The Addams Family wasn't a typical fish-out-of-water sitcom setup. It was the inverse, a self-contained house of horrors, where normal folk were the outsiders that allowed for all manners of offbeat jokes and insane plots. Credit for the Addams Family television universe is due in large part of comedic writer, director, series producer Nat Perrin, and a lot was added during the TV series. Characters like Thing and Cousin It, even the names of the characters was given by the screenwriters. In an article called The Monsters Within, The Monsters, The Addams Family, and The American Family in the 1960s by Laura Morowitz, she mentions that there are various ways in which The Addams Family as a television show went against 60s family norms. The Addams break almost every typical family convention of the time. They refuse to conform to society's idea of what an average American family should be, and they honestly seemed happier for it. Morticia and Gomez, as a couple, were far more balanced in their respective roles as husband and wife than were other TV couples, and they never seemed to shy away from displaying affection for one another in public, almost making a mockery of other married, sexless couples around them. Rather than pretending that Gomez, as a husband figure, is the smartest of the bunch, we as viewers are under no illusion that it is Morticia who holds much of the power in the household and she's the decision maker. This was an unusual portrayal in terms of 50s and 60s TV series. Something also clever to note about the show's portrayal of the Addams is that while the family is rather strange and their house is very spooky, as human beings, they are actually very approachable and friendly. Morticia and Gomez are always very happy to have guests and are honestly pretty good hosts. Uncle Fester also seems to enjoy guests, even if he does think they are weird most of the time. It is just those around them who are so judgmental of their lifestyle. They can't look past it in order to befriend a group of people so different. So the choice to make the Addams amiable as well as strange is essential in pointing out the hypocrisy of the time. Here are the Addams, a nice family who live in a suburban neighborhood, and yet because they choose to decorate and dress a little differently and their interests are unique, they are particularly outcasted by the town. That being said, the Addams didn't seem to mind being outcasted. Heck, I don't think they even realized that. Because to be otherwise meant having to change who they were, which was definitely a deal breaker for them. And it's not so much that the family was even actively resistant for the purpose of being different, they just loved what they loved, which made them all the more endearing. It's worth mentioning that they never really worried about the safety of their kids. Heck, even torture devices was encouraged upon them as a playtime and toys. So the 90s movies faced a lot of problems for Addams Family TV show rights holder David Levy. 2 months after the film began its successful theatrical run, Levy sued Paramount Studios and Orion Productions for $50 million. He named the characters. He put the concept together. He invented the characters Thing and It completely. The credited creator of the Addams Family television series also asserted that he invented the notion of Gomez loving to fence and obsessively fawning all over his wife, and how Lurch liked to play the organ, none of which was terribly present in Addams comics. Paramount quickly settled out of the court with Levy, so as to avoid any production or release delay for the film's sequel, Addams family values. Something else that always got my attention was that there were kind of hints that they are immigrants. They were vaguely European. Morticia would speak in French. Gomez would speak in Spanish. His name was Gomez. They danced to Mamushka. A little bit of a personal story. My grandparents were immigrants as well. And when they settled in the new country, they were outcasted right away. And they actually called them the Addams family. But it wasn't in a complimentary way. It was more of a, ostracizing them. They looked very different. All of the men in my family are like 2 meters tall. I don't know the American feet. I'm going to put it here during editing. My grandma was very, very short. She was like 149 meters or something. And they had their own traditions. They had their own celebrations. They would speak in different languages in front of other people. My grandparents, they were so affectionate towards one another. Their love story is out of a romantic novel, and everybody knew their love story. They would constantly remind everyone about it, and they never shied away from showing affection to one another. It was very bizarre and unusual in their new country as well, to be kissing and to showing love, between the couples. So yeah, I think the rest of the family, including me and some of my cousins, are carrying the tradition as well. Again, not in a very complimentary way, more of a outcasting and like ostracizing us because of our different choices. But you know what? It's nice to be individuals. It's nice to have your own quirks and not to be like others. But anyways, moving on. Let's move on to Wednesday and the new series. Wednesday seemed to be the only character who went through major changes, although Uncle Fester's background was kind of changed too. In the beginning, he was Morticia's uncle, but then it was changed to being Gomez's biological brother. Wednesday, on the other hand, started as a sweet little sister with weird quirks and awesome dance moves, to psychopathic, torture-loving, antisocial Wednesday in the 90s. I really enjoyed the animations as well, even though people rejected it hard. Nobody liked those animations. I think it was during the animations that she certainly started having mind readings and psychic abilities. I never felt that the family has supernatural abilities per se, other than being invincible or immortal. Her alienation from her family was also introduced here as well, because prior to that, she seemed to be fine with imitating her mother's fashion and mannerism. I guess in the sense of that she's a teenager now and she wants to have her independence, something that most teenagers experience, hence why they act up and become little unbearable monsters. This idea has become the center and part of her character arc in the new series. I think the producers watched the last scene of the Addams family values when she mentions that she doesn't want to have kids and she doesn't want to get married, and kind of made that to the major character plot for her here. And they're using that line to define her characteristic now. Also, on a note that Addams family are kind of opposite of normal. For her to go against her mother and the idea of marriage and stuff, it's nothing against the norm. Nobody wants to have kids anymore. Nobody wants to get married. So it wasn't such an odd and like Adam's choice, to be honest. So the opening scene was a little problematic for me. I watched it on the trailers, and the whole piranha and the attack in the school, it was a little deftone to me. I was shocked that that was the opening scene for the series as well. And we didn't really get a chance to see the family in their house and their familiar environment. I would have loved to see Wednesday at home in her room, interacting with her family members, but we didn't get that. And unfortunately, the setting of the story has lost its creativity. And for the modern audience, they filled it with cliches that we see in every new series that targets younger viewers. Mentioning TikTok and other social medias, check. A magical school for special students, Check. I mean, it could have been any of the schools. It could have been the Xavier Institute for Higher Learners from X-Men. It could have been the Yancey Academy for the Percy Jackson. It could have been Hogwarts. Anyways, being in the middle of a love triangle, check. I thought all the love interests were the same actor with different hairstyles. I mean, is it racist to say that all white people look the same? Oh well. Ooh, I just thought of more magical schools. Vampire Academy, Sky High, the School of Good and Evil. Everyone has powers now. We have werewolves and vampires and sirens. What is this urge of labeling everyone to familiar categories? Because God forbid we have a group that we can't name them. Since when we have sirens and vampires and werewolves in Addams' universe? The setting always worked for Addams because they were the odd ones. Putting the odd ones out in a normal situation is what makes the family members stand out. As Mel Brooks, the king of comedy, says, comedy is serious, deadly serious. Never try to be funny. The actors must be serious. Only the situation must be absurd. So the decision for putting Wednesday in a school of outcasted people was a little bit strange for me. I would have loved to see her in a private school or in a public school with normal people. Ooh, by the way, we have a name for people who are outside the Addams family and they call them normie. You know, just like muggles and nomad and every other name that we have to give the other group. Jenna Ortega did an awesome job. I was really impressed by her and the dance number was just fantastic. The choice for Catherine Zeta-Jones was a bit odd and she had almost no chemistry with Luis Guzman. There was a lot of controversy around this actor in particular. Poor guy, he's a very good actor. But I have to remind people that in the illustrations, Gomez was portrayed as a very ugly man and the choice was spot on for me. My problem was the chemistry between them. They don't have to suck face every time they're on the screen. In the TV series and in the movies, you could have seen their passion and affection for one another, even without the sexual act. We barely see them actually kiss, especially in the TV series. There were hints. For the movie, there were only hints that they have a very active sexual life. I wish they had more dialogues between them. I wish Catherine portrayed Morticia in a more spooky way. She acted more of a normal, everyday mother, and it wasn't really impressive for me. I like the story overall. I think they got the idea from the play that Wednesday and Pugsley played in the Addams Family Values, where she is Pocahontas and she's going against pilgrims. I think somebody saw that and just ran with it. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I could see Tim Burton's unique styles, especially when it comes to the design of the monster. I'm actually very excited for the second season. I just hope that they put Wednesday in more of a normal situations so it can highlight her weirdness. The only thing that I really liked about the arc of her character was the fact that she kind of understood and realized that she's kind of toxic to other people and she's using other people. I really like that one. But I didn't appreciate that they tried to change her. They tried to soften her a little bit. I didn't like that. They're odd for a reason and I want them to keep that oddness in every situation. Let me know down in the comments which other movies or TV series or even games do you want me to review for you. And as always, thank you for watching and have a nice day.